welcome to you guys that made it. Hey, Shares. Hey, guys. Obviously, we've got Khan on tonight. Thank him for making the time to join us out of his busy schedule. Obviously, Khan's 6 times games athlete. Also got sweat therapy co. How's that going, the training?
Yeah, it's good actually. I think we just it's been crazy. I suppose because we've got a free program and everyone's in lockdown, just looking for some free home workouts and stuff like that. But like it's been trucking along. I think we've about 500 people on there now,
wow.
Which is really, really cool across all the
Really?
different programs. Yeah, which is a lot more than I kind of expected. But then again, it's probably 50-50, 50% on the free program, 50% across the different other programs. But it's cool. Like, I really enjoy it. I really love writing workouts. It's kind of aimed more at the, ambitious, entry-level competitor. It's definitely not a full-time athlete program. It's like, it's not as much as what I would do in a day, but it's like, we've got the daily workout, which is designed if you just want to train for an hour a day, or like 20 to 40 minute workout, warm up, cool down, do your thing. And then the performance program's kind of designed to be able to be done in like one 90-minute session, or you could possibly break it into 2 sessions if you wanted to. But like, for people that want a little bit more than just what you would do in a normal class, but without having to kind of commit to 3-4 hours a day warming up and cooling down, like even just how the sessions are written is designed to kind of, the first piece will warm you up and it'll flow into the next piece, which will flow into the next piece, rather than kind of having to spend ages warming up and setting up for all the different bits and pieces. So yeah, it's been good. It's a really good little community that's building around it as well. We've got a little online Facebook community, which is really, really good. People sharing their little lockdown stories and workouts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's lovely.
But I'm loving it. It's been a nice little opportunity to get that off the ground in lockdown.
Timing. Good. And how did you come up with the new name? Was that somebody chose that name and you went with that, or did you end up coming up with that one yourself?
Nah, so that's like, I guess it combines my 2 passions. And I think obviously, like, I'm studying at the moment, and hopefully we'll finish the counselling component in my course mid-year this year, or sort of maybe looking like September, October now. And so my goal is obviously to practice as a counsellor and then psychologist. And so with that, that's where I guess combining training and like movement, I think, is so powerful for mental health in of itself. So I wanted to create a name that allowed it to kind of capture both of those things, both, training, obviously, like getting a sweat on, but also feeling good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's exciting. Well, 500 now, I imagine in a year or so. That's great.
Yes, fingers crossed.
All right. So how are you coping in ISO? So you guys are doing okay. What do you enjoy most about ISO? Because I know for some of us, some people actually enjoy parts of it. I know I'm a bit of a homebody and I enjoy events and socializing, but I work from home and train from home. So for me, this is my comfort anyway. I miss going and having a dinner and a wine with friends, but and traveling. But for me, I really love staying at home anyway. But is there anything that you're really enjoying about ISO?
I think it's forcing us to spend, what I've really enjoyed is, I guess, observing the way that different people have responded to it. I think that there has been some really incredible things that different communities around the world have done to bring people together and to manage the situation. The difficulties I found is because, like, I typically use separating my spaces as a means of organizing my day. So when I go to the gym, I go to the gym to train. If I need to do work, I have a separate space to do work. When I'm at home, it's for relaxing and chilling out. And those spaces all being blended together has made it difficult to stay as productive, or I've gotten better at it. And to do that, I've had to kind of really be quite strict with my routine and quite regimented, more so than I would normally be, with even other things besides just like my training and stuff. It's like, okay, this is how much downtime I'm going to use. This is where I'm going to do that downtime. Even just, this is when I'm going to sit and scroll through social media on my phone, and this is when I'm not going to have my phone near me in the house. Because if that phone's sitting next to me, inevitably I'll answer a message and that'll turn to Instagram, and that'll turn to just like, there's 10 minutes of my day, 15 minutes. Geez, I'm that to the conservative effort some days. But yeah, it's been mixed. It's been, really cool to see, how people have come together like this. And then also it's had its difficulties, as it has for everyone.
Yeah. Cool. Your dog. I was chatting with you before everyone jumped on about your dog. I think it's the cutest, fluffiest white dog I've ever seen in my life. My son actually wants one. Is it a Samoyed?
Yeah, he's a Samoyed, and they're fantastic. I've had dogs my whole life, and he's the easiest by far that I've ever had. And he's 7 months now, but yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like he was a puppy like weeks ago, and then all of a sudden he's this big, massive fluff ball now.
He's getting big. He's getting very big.
All right, so we can sort of go on. I guess we sort of chatted about what your biggest struggle is with ISO, and that's probably keeping your new structure and blending your spaces together and still being able to function how you would generally. I guess you can still train at your box, can you? You can still go in and train at the box, or you're not allowed in there at all?
Yeah. No, I'm sweet because I'm one of the owners, and I spoke to the local police station because I wanted to make sure that everything we were doing, or that I was doing, was okay. And they basically said that as an owner of a box, it's technically the same as leasing a place. Like I'm paying rent for that place to exist. I'm one of 4 people on the lease. So with my name being on the lease, I'm able to just go in there and use it the same way I would go to my home, like use a home gym, if that makes sense.
So the 4 can all go in.
A significantly higher weekly rental fee than a home gym.
A lot higher.
The 4 of us can't go in at the same time, but the 4 of us can go and use the space, if that makes sense.
And then are you doing Zoom classes with your members? So they sort of...
Yeah, so they're doing Zoom classes. And then what we've also done is with the laws for PTing outdoors, we've set up a little station at the local park where Sam, who manages the gym, she's got her car loaded up with equipment, drives the equipment down to the local park, unloads it at a station there, and then the members have 30-minute slots where they come in, they use it. They're able to do that twice per week, the members that are still paying. And that way they're still able to use a barbell, still able to squat, deadlift. Like I've written a 2-day-a-week strength program for them. They come in, squat, deadlift, and then maybe do some power cleans, power snatches the other day, or snatch and clean the other day. And then, go just do the Zoom classes and stuff as well. Leased out the equipment too.
That's awesome. All right, question 1 for you. So we've sort of had a little bit of a chat. So what motivates you every day? So when you wake up in the morning, what's your mindset? What motivates you to get up and get going each day? And then
I think
a flat day, if you wake up and you're feeling a bit flat or fatigued, what can you do to sort of motivate yourself? Or is that a day where you think, okay, no, I'm going to rest today, and resting is okay? Yeah,
so I think that one thing that has really become apparent during the pandemic for me is just how important purpose and meaning is for me. And it's something that I am very driven by. I think waking up, I was really motivated at the start because there was still a bit of uncertainty around the games. It was like, okay, maybe it's still going to go ahead. And then it kind of got to maybe 3 weeks after we got locked down and there was a bunch of events that I was supposed to be doing cancelled. The reality was, I was like, I have no idea what I'm even doing and what I'm even training for. And I was no motivation at all. I'm super lucky that having Co gets me out of bed every morning. I have to get out of bed when he wakes up, because otherwise he'll start destroying my house. So that sort of forces me out of bed. But in terms of finding motivation, when those periods where I don't have a really clear sense of purpose and meaning that I can sort of anchor to get me going, I'll strip everything right back. And I sort of have this minimum, let's call it a minimum work requirement, a minimum kind of goal for each day, which is 4 things that are completely controllable and that I can do irrespective of circumstance. And I know that if I do those 4 things, it's been a pretty good day. And so they're kind of like these little micro, super easy to achieve goals that give me still a sense of purpose, give me still some little things to do throughout the day, and that I know each of which makes me feel good, and I'll focus on them. And so those things for me are to move. So that doesn't have to be move doesn't mean train. Move just means be active in some capacity. Often it is a training session, but probably not like a proper, as if I'm trying to kind of compete training session. The other one is to learn. So I like to set aside time every single day to either read, listen to a podcast, an audio book, do some of my studies and stuff like that. The other one is to give. So by give, it doesn't mean you have to do, it doesn't have to be sort of like massive sort of thing. It can be anything from just connecting with some friends, like giving someone a call, having a chat to them, doing like a Zoom thing, going out and kind of, reaching out to someone on the program, answering someone's questions that's kind of asked like maybe a bigger question through one like social media or anything like that. It's just an opportunity to connect with someone and try to add value to their day. And then the last one is to play. So the last one, and like play basically means doing something purely for the enjoyment of it. So no overarching purpose, no kind of deeper meaning besides, hey, this makes me feel good while I do it, so I'm going to spend some time today doing it.
Yeah. So those 4 things are quite achievable every day. And that's great. That's awesome.
Completely controllable. And when my motivation to kind of say strive towards, hey, I want a top 10 at the CrossFit Games isn't quite there because I don't even know if the CrossFit Games are going ahead or something like that, I can always go back to those 4 simple things, 4 simple kind of minimum daily tasks and work towards them and still have a sense of purpose that adds value to my own life and makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for you guys that weren't on the beginning or haven't heard the news, CrossFit is taking for the games this year 30 male and 30 females to the ranch, and they'll compete. So Khan has his spot secured, so he got the good news yesterday, so he's excited. Gives him a bit of purpose back again, which is awesome. So now it's just applying to be able to travel, and hopefully that all goes ahead and you can get there and compete at the ranch. That'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be really interesting to see how it all unfolds, if it does unfold. I mean, obviously, I'm extremely lucky to be able to be one of the 30 people. It's far from ideal, but just that in of itself, going back to having purpose like that, today was the most motivation I've had to train in a couple of months. But that's I'm extremely lucky with that. Not everyone's going to have that sort of goal at this point in time. So don't be too harsh on yourself and think that you need to be working towards something big during this period, because for most of us, this is just getting through this period is going to be one of the biggest milestones really for a lot of people. It's something that we've never experienced before, and just kind of maintaining some sense of normal functioning day to day in of itself is a pretty awesome achievement. And if you can come up with something to do every day, like that little 4 things that I sort of said before, that in of itself, being able to do those things every single day, like tick that off your daily goals list, like that should be something to be proud of and that you can be motivated towards.
So when you say read, there's certain books, like I know you've read Atomic Habits, and that was a huge one for me, Atomic Habits. I got a lot out of that. Probably one of the most powerful books I've read. My partner's also read that. And is there other books or other sort of things you like to read that you can recommend for the other guys or people that look back at this and sort of looking for something, self-development or...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so how I try to get a fair bit of my, let's call it reading in inverted commas, because it's actually probably listening to more audiobooks than I do read handheld. And that's my morning walk with Koa. So that's usually like 45 minutes minimum. So if I listen to 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week, I can kind of get through a decent sized audiobook in 2 weeks, or maybe just over, just under. So I've read a few crackers this year. I guess it depends on the genre. Like, one of my favorites that I've read recently is a book called The Madness of Crowds. And it's basically it's all about human behavior and how human behavior is changing because of online, like social media and things like that. And just, I don't think it's really personal development related, but it's just one of the best books that I've read. And it's like some super interesting ideas around things like, how do we conform to groups online versus how we sort of conform to groups outside of it and stuff like that as well. But if you're interested in behavior, I highly recommend, and the follow-up I'm reading to that at the moment is called The Coddling of the American Mind, and that's really good as well. The Happiness Hypothesis, really good one by Jonathan Haidt. So it's spelled like Haight.
Yeah.
I like Mark Manson's one, Everything's Fucked, excuse my French. That's a really good book too. Another kind of like one of the bigger known self-help ones. Yeah, Atomic Habits, really, really good. Another one called Hyper Focus by Chris Bailey. So really good one about becoming more deeply immersed in your work and staying focused on things. It's actually had a really good effect on my training. So creating a training environment that's more conducive to focus I've taken a lot from that book. So Hyper Focus again. And then, yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I read is more kind of like behavior than necessarily performance. But in terms of things that have taken stuff away from, like that sort of Hyper Focus, Atomic Habits, Everything is Fucked, really, really good ones.
Is that, so do you read more of that stuff because you want to understand yourself more, or you just have always sort of been interested in that kind of behaviors and so forth?
Both. I guess it probably started with trying to get to the bottom of what was wrong in my head all the time, or what I perceived to be wrong in my head all the time. But then obviously that turned into a love for psychology. Like that's what I'm studying, and I want to work with other people eventually. So I think it's just a fascination with human beings more than anything else.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So I've got here just certain behaviors act as when you know a bad day is coming, what are your go-to survival tips? So I guess that's those 4 things that you sort of put in if a bad day's coming. Do you wake up and you're feeling a bit crappy or down or flat and you think, okay, these are the 4 things I need to focus on today? Or what are your survival tips? What are your go-to things to do aside of that? Or is that pretty much it? If you're having a bad day, you think, okay, these are the 4 things I'm going to do today and I'll be okay.
Yeah, so I think that I'll drop it back even more, depending on like a bad day being like a really bad day being, where let's say my anxiety or my mental health is really, really bad. I will go, first of all, I'll just give it space. Like I think that we're so conditioned to when we feel negative or when we feel bad to try and fix it. And that's not just in ourselves, it's when other people approach us. I know you said that a big part of this that you wanted to talk about was the Are You Okay side of things. And Are You Okay is a great charity because it's all about asking people how they're doing. But what they don't do a lot of is really delve into what to do when someone sort of comes back and says they're not doing great. And so I think we as a culture are conditioned to, when someone is feeling sad or uncomfortable or unhappy, to take those negative emotions away. And so we want to try and either help them do that themselves, or when someone comes to us when they're having a negative, like a bad day, we want to try and fix that. But a lot of the time, and particularly, well, depending on what the type of the person's proclivity towards different mental health issues is, a lot of the time fixing is not the best outcome because a lot of the time, like sometimes like they've probably thought of all the things that you want to do. So I'm very quick. I'm very, like, I don't like to be quick to try and fix when I feel bad at first. And I'll just kind of like, I don't know, I guess I just accept it and roll with it. Like you're going to have a bad day. Like negative emotions exist for a reason. So yeah, I'll maybe slow things down, or I'll definitely slow things down. I'll find one of those things. So typically either, say play or learn, to maybe distract myself a little bit or to do something so I still feel productive in some way. But once that kind of, like, I feel like if you sit with your negative emotions, they pass quicker. And having that knowledge in the back of your head that bad days come and go, negative emotions come and go, that is such a powerful tool for managing them. Because, and rather than being like, oh, should I feel bad? I must make myself feel better. I'll default more to, should I feel bad? That's okay. You've felt bad heaps of times before, but that will go away. Like it's always transient. I mean, and sometimes it will last a longer period. Sometimes we go through like drawn out periods of difficulty. It's not just a bad day. It can be a bad week or a bad month, bad couple of months, that sort of thing. But there will always be a positive, like you'll always have a good day again. And I think that's always, since before I even actively tried to deal with bad days, so to speak, if I just felt shitty, I would always kind of default towards that. And it's been a really powerful thing as well. So having that in the back of your mind, slowing things down and then doing something purely for the enjoyment of it, that's a really big one for, let's call it a bad day.
That's really interesting. On a personal note, my daughter struggles with mental health. So she's 17 going on 18. You know, times are hard, can be hard for everybody. And one of my things as a parent, so she's my eldest, so learning still parenting. She would feel down, and I'm always the mum, like the cheerleader. You're all right. There's so much good in your life. This is what I do when I feel bad, and always feeling like feel better. And you know, it took time for me to learn, and speaking to outside influences as well, to learn that that's not the best way. And I thought I was doing the best thing as a parent to try and pick her up, but wasn't allowing her to feel when she needed to feel those emotions. So that's it's really important, I think, that people understand that and hear that, because that's something that I've had to learn through experience as well. And, you know, probably need to take on board myself a little bit too, that it is okay to have flat days and just to go with it.
Yeah.
And always try and do all those things that you think make you feel better, because it is okay to feel a bit down.
The more time we spend sitting with those negative emotions, the more aware we become of them, and start to be able to explore things like, well, what triggered this? Can I remove some of those potential triggers from my life so then it doesn't happen again? Okay, how long did it typically last for? What was like, how did it feel in my body? So you can start to kind of intercept sometimes before like you have a really bad day. And like mindfulness meditation has been super beneficial for me with this as well. And I try to practice that daily. I do that after my training session. It's actually a really good way to kind of take yourself into a parasympathetic nervous system. Also, like I work with a psychologist, and he was the one, I used to do it in the mornings. He said, do it post-training, because it's a great way to, you know, when you're training, you stress response, but then at the end of your training session, you want to go into that parasympathetic. And so, but anyway, that was a really good one, because what it does is it teaches you that kind of open awareness, and it gives you that capacity to sort of just sit with thoughts, good and bad, without necessarily trying to change them. And then, the more aware of your thoughts you are, I think the easier it is to spot when negative ones are coming on, and the easier it is to then kind of, when they've passed, move into a positive state.
So is that breathing techniques that you do to get into that state? Like I know the Wim Hof method has a breathing technique that sort of takes you into that state as well. So is it that kind of thing that you do afterwards?
I'll put on like either Headspace app or the Calm app, and I'll just do 10 to 20 minutes. I'll just breathe through my nose and listen to the app and do what it says to do.
Cool. So that is one thing I want to touch on too. And while we're there, do you do meditate? So that is, I guess, your meditation and your breathing. Do you do things like yoga as well? Sort of, do you practice yoga? No.
I hate yoga. No, I hate it. It's like, it's straight up, like I don't find it relaxing. I don't find it enjoyable. I have other things that I can do to slow down, to relax, and to enjoy myself. I have tried and tried. I hate it. I'm not, like, it's just not for me. And I'm cool with that. Like, I know it's supposed to be really, really good for you and beneficial, but like, no,
it's not for you.
It's not for me.
It does my head in. That feel the same, feel okay about it. It's a little bit slow for me too, so I struggle a little bit with yoga. So that's good to know. Certain triggers. So do you have certain triggers or certain behaviors, that act as a trigger for you?
Yeah, uncertainty. I think anyone that's dealt with anxiety before will say that, like, the what ifs are probably the worst things. So like not being certain of like uncertain, and obviously this period is a super uncertain period. So not knowing where I stand on something, not knowing what someone else thinks, not knowing what I've got to do to achieve something. Like those are all, like, I know that uncertain periods for me are extremely triggering. I also know that I can become quite like I've negative self-talk. So if I'm struggling, I'll tend to get in my own head a little bit as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think probably the uncertainty is the worst one. And then that comes down to a lack of control. And then obviously things like if I haven't slept much, like I haven't been sleeping a lot, or if there's a lot going on, I tend to overcommit to things and take on lots of tasks, because I think sometimes I feel like by doing it distracts me from having to just sit and be, because sometimes just sitting and being isn't that fun when you do have sort of different mental health things. And I know that when I've taken on too much, like I overwhelm myself, and that's a massive trigger. And I think that's something that society itself is so like they celebrate doing. Like doing is supposed to be like, doing is like what we should all be. You should always be busy. You say, and living in Sydney as well, you say, how are you? And everyone says, oh, busy. They say it as if it's kind of like they wear it with a badge of honor. And I'm so guilty of that as well. And in some instances, it's definitely helped me get to where I am in certain aspects, because like wanting to constantly be doing stuff. But then at the other end of that spectrum is just taking on stuff and starting to become more conscious of whether I'm saying yes to something or starting something or doing something just to fill the space, or whether it's actually like productive and whether I can actually do a good job of it, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, those are probably my two big ones: uncertainty and taking on too much, trying to do too much.
Say no is probably a big one for you as well.
Massive one. It's not even, yeah, 100%. It's not even saying no. It's just like being like, because sometimes it's not even like saying, it's not even other people. It's just myself being like, oh fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, why the fuck did I start that? Like, I mean, I started I'm not even getting into detail. I've started some interesting things this, notice I said started, not finished. I've started some interesting things this lockdown, that's for sure.
We see you spending a bit of time on TikTok. Do you set aside some TikTok time each day to practice your...
That's pretty ad hoc, that one. When I start scheduling time for that, it might be time for me to get off it, I think. Yeah, do you know what? I have actually enjoyed that app as like a bit of mental downtime, because it's not like, I mean, I feel like Instagram is so politicized now that this is like, it's not, it's just like dumb dances and people being silly. Although then like the more time I've spent on it, I'm like, oh fuck, there's also a lot of shit on there as well. So
yeah.
That's just the internet. You can spend some time anywhere.
Yeah, my kids have had it for a while and have really been interested. And now more people are getting into it. So I signed up, and the kids thought it was a little bit funny that I had the TikTok app on my phone. So if you have TikTok, or if you haven't, sign up and follow Khan and some of the other guys. They're quite fun. It'll give you a good laugh. It's good to see you guys.
But the problem with these apps for me is I get sucked down this rabbit hole of, because I am so fascinated by human behavior, and I feel like this pandemic has really given us like a unique insight into different people, like the way different people respond to like a crisis, adversity, all that sort of stuff. So what I do is I get sucked into like, not even just watching the content, like reading comments and like reading how people like respond to different things. And it can be a bit of a dark black hole for me, but like it for like surface level, I do enjoy it a lot.
That's funny. That's good. Make sure you give them a follow. So how is CrossFit in general and CrossFit community? Obviously our community is something pretty special. How's it helped to work with your health issues, and also how's it been detrimental, I guess, towards you as well?
That's a great question. Like fitness for me, obviously with sweat therapy, we talked about this before. Fitness for me has always been a bit of an outlet and a bit of something for me to channel, I guess, like the anxious, hyperactive attention that energy that I have into something. And finding CrossFit, which had a competitive aspect to that as well, that gave purpose to obviously going and doing it rather than just going and sweating it out for a little bit. That was really, really beneficial at first. I made the games quite early on when I started CrossFit in 2014, and it was kind of a double-edged sword in that it was really cool, like something that I felt, and still like my successes in this sport is something that I feel just like such genuine pride for, because like I've worked really hard at it, and it's really nice to see that hard work rewarded. And that was cool in that aspect. But at the same time, for someone that is so kind of quite anxious and has a tendency to overthink things, and I sort of really heavily tied, like after I had that success and it felt like it felt good to be proud like that, I really heavily tied my sense of self-worth and identity to my ongoing success within the sport. So you had this kind of thing that was therapeutic in a lot of respects, being CrossFit and fitness, that turned from being a form of therapy to something that I actually ended up, to be frank, hating. Like sort of maybe 2015, to say that I enjoyed my training, so the 2015, 2016 even, would be a lie. Like I didn't. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I found it extremely stressful, and it was as much as of a source of anxiety and a cause of my anxiety, and let's call it a trigger. as sort of these other things that sort of still are triggers now. So I had to go through this whole journey where I think 2017, the year that I didn't make the CrossFit Games, actually was the best thing ever to happen to me, because what it was like, you know, I in my head had catastrophized what would happen if I didn't make the games, and how I would view myself, how I feel, all these things. And then when they didn't come to fruition, and I realized there were so many other things that I valued and that I enjoyed and that I could channel my attention into outside of that, like I was really content with it. And knowing that I would feel content, you know, if I didn't make the games ever again, like I could walk away from this, I can carry on with my life and really, really enjoy it. Like that was a big shifting point for me. And I started to go back to training, balancing training to work towards something with training for the love of it. And that was so instrumental in changing the way that I saw myself as an athlete, saw the sport, saw a lot of different things. And then, yeah, that's sort of like, it's been pretty powerful influence in both directions in terms of helping me with like manage my mental health, and then being a source of frustration. And the way that I look at it now is like, I don't walk. It's still a mental journey for me, taking the competition floor at like an elite level. Like there is so many ups and downs. Like there's still the negative self-talk. There's still like the, you know, trying to believe that I can do X, Y, Z. It's not just like, I don't just rock up there being like, yeah, sweet, I'm just going to have fun and I don't really care, because that's a lie. I do care. Like I'm still invested in the outcome. So, but how I guess I manage that is I've reframed that kind of the negative aspects of the process, and I look at them as learning curves for myself. And then if one day I work with maybe other people or other athletes that are working towards something, then having gone through this process repeatedly myself, repeatedly choosing to put myself through that process, then I learn a lot from that, and I grow a lot from each big competition experience. And provided I'm still growing and I'm still learning, and I may not enjoy certain aspects of the process, but I enjoy knowing that through the negatives, there is still positives, and that's through that growth, and that potentially one day I can use that to pass it on to other people as well. And I think CrossFit is like training as well, gives us a super cool opportunity to experience like adversity and difficulty, and like it's self-inflicted. When we go to the gym and we train, we push really, really hard, we are bringing on some form of adversity, like some form of difficulty ourselves. Life isn't always sort of, so like you can't always choose when it'll throw a curveball at you, but you can build resilience to deal with those moments where life throws something at you that is out of your control by repeatedly going and putting yourself through, say, so for me, going and doing a really hard workout isn't that hard for me. I actually enjoy it in a weird way, and it's never been an issue. But going and taking the competition floor in like a do or die scenario, like regionals, or even like competing head to head with someone in my gym doing an open workout, that is like, I find that mentally and emotionally challenging. So I will go and repeatedly do that over and over again, irrespective of the outcome, because I know that then, when I can choose to do that, or I can choose not to do that, there will be things that happen throughout life that I will not choose, but I'll still have to respond to. So I feel like it helps build resilience like that.
Definitely. So we did an open announcement, was it last year in New South Wales? Was it last year we did the open announcement, or the year before with Jess?
I did two. Oh, with Jess was start of last year.
Yep.
Start of last year.
So going into that one, and you guys didn't know the workout that day, and you sort of rock up at the venue and knew you had to do this workout with no preparation, not knowing what the workout was. We kind of announce it, and then bang, you guys have to go straight away. Is that something, so accepting and saying yes to something like that, is that really huge for you, or is that like, okay?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not huge. It's not huge in this respect that like, I don't go, oh wow, good on you for going and doing that type of thing. Like that, it's not like a huge thing, but it still scares the shit out of me, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, but then so too does when it gets to Monday and I'm doing my open workout for the second time, even if I'm standing in a gym on my own with one person judging me, like that nervous feeling before I do an event is it's always there. And it's like, whether it's an open workout in the gym, a local competition, sometimes I feel like there's even more stress and pressure in like an open workout at the gym if I'm going head to head with some of the other guys, or if I'm at a local competition, because everyone is like, I'm going to sell my fucking soul to try and beat this guy. And then, yeah, like, so that's like, that stress and that pressure is always there, but they're not big things, but they're all just like cumulative. So, but like a big reason why I would say yes to that is because I'm like, okay, this is going to make you feel really uncomfortable.
Right.
Go and do it. Go and do it. It's a good opportunity, because when, like, you know, if you fuck it up, you go and do it another day. Go and do it. Just, you know.
So
yeah, like,
in your mind, you're like, oh no, I don't want to do that, but absolutely yes, I'm going to do that, because that's going to be really.
Yeah. It's a weird one where it's like, but like, as much as I feel nervous and like shit scared, like I still look forward to it. I was like, fuck, this is gonna be sick. But I'm like, I'm going to be nervous as fuck, but it's going to be cool. I guess it's just that it comes back to what we were talking about before. Like, I'm okay with feeling negative emotions. It's all part of my day to day. It's part of the process for me. And that's because I've spent enough time just sitting with the negative emotions that, like, I'm just so comfortable with that as being just a part of life. And I think that just comes from spending time just, rather than trying to get rid of them, just kind of dealing with them and being present with those negative emotions. That, yeah, okay, I'm going to be nervous, but fuck, it's pretty cool. I get to go and do the live announcement for a CrossFit Open workout. I've done 2 now, and both of them is the same thing. It's really cool. Like, I mean, like, yeah, stuff like that still pinch me fucking moments when I look back on it.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess different events, different training. So I know you do CrossFit. You've just, you've been interested in the functional fitness, the I3, for quite some time now, and joined us for our first year last year, which was cool. It was really fun going over and doing that. Was that a little bit more out of your comfort zone? Was that a little bit more relaxing doing the I3 stuff?
It was more outside of my comfort zone in terms of the events. I think why I consider myself to be a decent CrossFit athlete is because I'm kind of decent at everything. But that being like all these single modality tests, that was outside of my comfort zone. And like any competition, yeah, still those nerves. And then again, the expectation. You go in there and everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to do so well." Like that scares the shit out of me when people say that. That actually makes me feel way more nervous when people. And it's the same thing. People are like, "I'm going to offer him encouragement. You're going to be great. You're going to do fine." No, like that. It is encouraging, but still fucking terrifies me even more. Because I'm like, well, what if you don't? Fuck, like, what if you fuck this up? So there was definitely like that nerves in of itself as well. But I guess what I thought was cool about that was, for me, there was no stakes. Like, it was off season, and it was just a cool opportunity to, deal with pre-competition nerves, do some different style of events and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed myself. I'm interested to see how that continues. I'm interested to see what happens this year with that as well. Obviously, I'm going to be able to do like a qualifier as far as I'm concerned, like, as far as I know.
Yeah. We'll still have the nationals, and then we'll know more about the final event the next week or two. The borders are opening, that's still all. We don't really know. But we've got some meetings coming up, so we'll make final decisions. But the nationals will still go ahead for the Worlds in whatever way the Worlds looks like this year. And then next year is Australia, so that's exciting, having it home ground.
Yeah, that's cool. What's happening with MastersHQ?
HQ is still set as it is, so our final is September. I am looking. I haven't sort of spoken to anyone about this at the moment to see if we can push it back a little bit. I think September, it's early September, so I think we are okay. But if we can push it back a little bit, we might do that just to be sure. The only thing is because we have a swim event at the Aquatic Centre on the Sunday, and the rest is at the Logan Metro Sports Centre. If we can sync both of those locations up on the same weekend, we may be able to change. Otherwise, we might need to stick with early September, but that's okay. We might just need to limit crowds and so forth. I think crowds is the biggest thing at the moment, limitation with anything. So I think it's one of the events, the amount of people and, social distancing. I don't know what that looks like.
Second, my dog has just grabbed something. I just found an entire bag of rubbish and decided to run across the lounge room with it.
Sounds like a small thing. And so we have our semi-finals, so that will be online this year. So usually we have a live semi-final in every state, but that and our interstate, they do that online. So I think that will be online for everybody this year. It's a little bit too much on boxes on our state representatives, even if the boxes are open. It's the last thing they need to be thinking about at the moment. So that'll be all online, and then top finishers will go through the final September at this point. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I think the timing for that
is cool.
Great. Yeah. So I think we'll
that works out well.
So that's exciting. A couple more things. Your support network. So do you do much work with Are You OK now? And who do you look to and recommend for others when they feel they do need extra support? So if they are really struggling, is there recommendations you have that you think they should go and speak to or reach out to?
Yeah, absolutely. Find a great therapist. Like there's like all the online, there's a lot of online resources and stuff like that, which is all fantastic. Some really, really good information out there. Are You OK? I work with them. I've started working with Movember now as well, which is fantastic. They've got really good resources too. And also another company that I do some work with is there's a guy called MHQ Wellness Series. He owns Heart on My Sleeve. So they're all great, but at the end of the day, like nothing beats going and getting that personalized work with a therapist. And I think that there is a lot of stigma around that. Yes. But in the same way that if you join a new gym or you start a new training program, that's just you would go and talk about, or even a diet, like if you started working with a nutritionist or something like that, that's super normal. And then what that's doing is that's taking some sort of control over your health. I believe and I view going and seeing a therapist the same. And that, I think people think that seeing a therapist is only when you are bringing yourself up from a deficit. So something's wrong, you need to get better. But in the same way that you wouldn't tell a fit person they're fit, stop training, you don't need to do that anymore. I think going and getting regular help with someone that's trained to work on, we're going to have stresses and they may not mean a mental health problem, but just having someone to go and just air your shit with, talk it over, that's trained in how to do that, to have those conversations. I think that's a really powerful and really healthy thing. And it doesn't have to be a weekly thing because the psych that I see is not cheap. I couldn't afford to see him there's been periods where I've seen him weekly, but I'll see him maybe once every month to 6 weeks sometimes, at the moment, particularly at the moment. But just having somone that you go and regularly check in on like that, I think that is so, so, so beneficial. And it is so underutilized by people, and it's something that I hammer this to my mates as well, who are kind of guys in their early 20s up to say the sort of mid to late 40s, it's sort of my immediate friend circle. And I would say there is a huge chunk of those boys that, because of me fucking boot them in the ass regularly about it, they'll go and see, they go and see shrinks regularly to just do exactly that, to chat. And one of them, one of my buddies, he described it as just catching up with a really emotionally woke friend. He lives in America, so he uses the word woke, but we won't hold that against him. But yeah, that's how he describes it. And he goes and he does that once a month. He goes and catches up with his really emotionally woke friend and talks about whatever's on his mind. You always walk out of there feeling better. And yeah, I really hope that the stigma around that continues to go away, because when I do, there is people that people will come to me and they're like, oh man, I'm going through this. And I'm just hey, go and see someone, go and see a psych, go and see a counselor, go and see a psychologist, psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, a counselor. There's so many different people that you can go to that are trained in dealing with that. But then they'll just be like, oh, no, I don't really want to go and do that. But and on that though, there are some shit therapists out there, the same as there are some shit personal trainers out there. There are some shit coaches out there. That's just, unfortunately, there's when something like that's involved, there are going to be people you don't click with. Yes. It took me a good period of time to find my guy, but that persistence has paid off in that I do now have someone that I'm sweet, that's my psychologist. And he's great. He's a mix of clinical and performance based. Okay. So if I'm feeling good, we'll just go in and do performance psych. If I'm feeling shit, we'll go in and we'll do mental health stuff.
So good. So don't give up if you haven't clicked with someone. Don't think, oh, well, that didn't work for me.
No.
Keep looking.
A good clinic as well, like a good place to go is a clinic that has multiple practitioners, because the place that I went to, why I chose it was it has something like 20 odd counselors and psychologists that work there. And so they did a 2-session thing where if you went for 2 sessions and you didn't click with the person that you went to, which is like totally fine, you could then go and work with a different practitioner. You get 2 sessions with another practitioner, and they would basically keep giving you 2 free sessions with another practitioner until you find someone you click with.
That's really important. And I like the point there. Don't go if you don't have to be broken or feel broken as such to have to go and see someone else. It's kind of like, yeah, even like keeping your finances checked, keeping your mental health in check. It's the kind of thing. I really like that.
Yeah, it's not just for when you're sick, because particularly now the field of positive psychology, that's completely based around going from feeling good to feeling even better, rather than from feeling shit to feeling good again.
Yeah, I think that's really huge. Do you feel the stigma around is higher around men seeing psychologists and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's in Sydney anyway. I think Sydney's pretty good for all that sort of stuff. Like, it's becoming a little bit more progressive in that respect. But I think, there's always going to be those kind of, particularly outside of the city, those kind of notions of it being like, emasculating or like somehow showing weakness or vulnerability, which is somehow going to bring your manliness into disrepute. But then that's where I think like it's really important for people to be super open and honest about doing these things, particularly blokes, with each other, so it does normalize it. Like, that's why I'm so probably overshare about all that shit all the time, and because I just think that it's important. Like, I think that those conversations, if that means that 2 or 3 other guys that would otherwise go, fuck that, I won't do it, go and actually see a psychologist. Like, there's so much benefit to that. And it's not just benefit to them, it's benefit to the people around them. Because blokes bottle up, and then that explodes at some point. And then that, it can explode on them, and they can do something, like it can be a thing that explodes just in their own world, but then that can have horrible overflowing effects to the people around them in some instances as well.
Don't even realise,
Yeah, exactly right. And
I think vulnerability is a big thing, and to me, I think vulnerability is being really brave, and I think anybody that can open up and feel vulnerable is huge.
But I don't even see it as brave, because I think that when you do it, when you embrace being vulnerable, it takes bravery at the start, but the benefits, the healing benefits for the person being vulnerable are so great that it itself becomes
empowering. Like
it becomes therapeutic in its own way. And therefore, yes, it takes bravery initially, but then that then becomes like you get an empowerment from that then turns it into a therapeutic process for you. So yeah, something that I'm obviously super passionate about. But
good. I think people really need to hear that. Men and women definitely need to hear that. That's really important. That's all I have in regards to questions for you, Khan. Is there anything that you wanted to chat about outside of those questions? Or is there, and then we can go.
I guess if there's anyone else that has a question, I'm going to fire that through, and I'll try and answer them as best that I can. And then, stock off and have some tea.
Does anybody have any questions I'd like to ask Khan, or anything they've been sort of thinking about? Feel free.
Cool.
Vicky, yeah.
No.
No.
All good.
All good. No. Amanda?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I had a quick question about, you're talking about the negative self-talk. I would love if you have any suggestions of, that's something that I struggle with quite a lot.
Oh shit,
am I back now?
Okay.
That's all right. So yeah, just around the negative self-talk, just if you could point me in the right direction of some good resources that I could maybe read or watch or listen to that could sort of help with some strategies around turning that around, that would be awesome.
Oh, bloody muted him.
Process of, am I back?
Start again, Khan.
Yeah, sorry. I'm good again. With the negative, you might have to unmute both of us because I've got a couple of questions. With the negative self-talk, is it to do, like, while you're doing a workout, because I typically get asked this in two ways, like someone saying that, oh, while I'm struggling in a workout, I find it hard to keep pushing, and I'm like, oh, this is too hard, I just want to give up. Or is it like outside of the actual workout itself, like what you sort of, like that self-talk about, oh, I don't want to start this because I feel bad, or I'm worried, or I'm anxious that this is going to happen, etc. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it's so, like, yesterday, for example, we did, like, it was a really horrible running, like 5 by 500 meter interval things. And straight away I'm like, I'm a shit runner. This is going to be terrible. Everyone's going to be seeing, and I'm going to look shit while I'm doing it. Why am I even bothering? I'm never going to get any better. So kind of, I guess, setting it up to fail a bit before I'd started. And then I even noticed while I was running, I had to just kind of try and change the channel a bit, because the shitter I felt about it, I kept saying worse things, the harder it got. And once I could stop, because I think I just got so tired that I stopped thinking negative things, and then it was kind of okay. But yeah, I'm hoping, I'm sure I can't be the only one out there, and I'm hoping that there might be some resources somewhere that will help me out.
So honestly, it's probably the most common question that I get in these sorts of things, is people talking about that. And there's so many different approaches that you can take. So when you sort of said change the channel, like that in itself is a good thing, because distracting yourself from the negative self-talk, and there are certain things that you can do in the heat of the moment just to distract yourself. And they can be simple things like, I like to use a cadence for every single movement that I do. I have a cadence in my head. It's like a beat. So when I find that my mind starts to wander, and typically for me it's the same, it's in the direction of negative self-talk, I'll see if I can distract it or interrupt that sort of negative self-talk, because typically that's coming from like it's a feeling process. So if you can give yourself like a little basic cognitive task to focus on, that distraction in of itself can be sometimes enough to just redirect you. Now, it's not going to get rid of whatever that underlying negative self, like whatever it is that you're using. So secondary to that, so if that doesn't work in the heat of the moment, I'm really conscious of having a very clear goal, or my psychologist, he uses focus. So focus is, we have a big 4 that we work on, and focus is one of them. And by having a really clear focus, which is something that I'm in complete control of doing in the workout, I can drive my attention towards that. So can you. So for running, for example, I like running. I'm not a bad runner, but I don't enjoy it, if that makes sense, which then almost puts more pressure on it. So I'll go periods without doing it. When I come back, man, like I did a run the other day, for example, and the negative self-talk, the whole run was so bad. So in so much as that I've also, like I sort of said, the nerves and stuff, that's just a negative part of the process that I accept. I accept there are going to be periods in time when things just aren't going great, that I am going to talk negative. Now, that negative self-talk, it can only affect you as much as you let it. Me telling myself I'm shit doesn't make me any better or any worse than where I'm at currently. And where I'm at currently is still of the ability to do something. And that's where these kind of focus points come into it. So rather than thinking I'm a shit runner, if you have a really clear focus point for that movement or that workout or whatever it is that is completely within your control, and you're able to keep actioning, it's going to work in 2 ways. It's going to give you something to take your mind off that. And then it's also going to it's going to motivate you, and it's going to empower you. You're going to get these kind of like, if you're achieving these little micro goals, that's how our brain sort of starts to shoot dopamine. It goes, fuck yeah, I'm going to be able to achieve this thing. Dopamine's not the reward, it's the anticipation of being able to achieve the reward. And that in of itself is going to help. It's more of a positive emotional response. So being able to kind of do that in the workout, that is a really powerful way that I've found. The second is, as I said, just accepting the negative emotions and the negative self-talk. And I'll anchor myself to if I find myself speaking really negatively, if I can't anchor myself to something like listening to a song or a beat of the movement or the beat and the rhythm of that movement. And if I can't then go, okay, let's redirect this by finding your focus. What was your focus before this? You're still doing your focus. Let's focus on your focus, so to speak. I'll just kind of be like, yep, this is a shit workout. And you have shit workouts. Like that's so okay, like to sort of go through that. And even if I have 3 days in a row where I have shit workouts every day, I'm not going to train for a couple of days. might have a few tins one of the nights, chill out, sit back, and just know that a couple of days off, mentally more than anything, it's super important. And all the top athletes are the same. Like I saw Lucas Hogberg posted this the other day. He's like, I took some rest days because my body didn't need it, but my mind did. And it's like, if you're constantly trying to push through negative self-talk and you're constantly trying to like force yourself to do something that you don't want to do, it's extremely tiring mentally. And you need to recharge that mental energy the same way that you would recharge your body. And maybe some time off, like a bit of time off, or do some things, be compassionate with yourself and all that sort of stuff. That can be enough to kind of shift, to give you the mental power to then redirect the negative self-talk in a workout. So what I mean? Like if you have more mental energy, you'll be able to easier go to your focus and stuff like that. In terms of books and resources, there's a couple of really good books that I've read that are more training specific, and they do talk about this. One is called Peak Performance. I can't think off the top of my head. Actually, do you know what? Let me just have a look because I'll be able to tell you. So Peak Performance. And the other one is called The Brave Athlete. Calm the fuck down. Where is it? The Brave Athlete. Calm the fuck down. What does it say? Yeah, Calm the Fuck Down. And that's by Leslie. Oh, it's downloading. If you type in The Brave Athlete, you'll find it though. That was a really, really good one. And then, yeah, the other one, Peak Performance. Both of them are written by two different people, and you'll go for them. Hyper Focus as well, that one that I mentioned before, that has some really good tips on the different ways that your brain will. Like he'll talk about things like your thinking brain and your feeling brain, and using your thinking brain to overpower your feeling brain and stuff like that, which is really, really good. And then, yeah, I guess maybe two others that have been really good, but more from like creating a positive training environment and doing that mental deload to allow myself to then be mentally stronger in workouts. One called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor. And then again, The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. So I don't know, you've recorded this, but I could even send those books over to Mel, and then she can like email them out or something like that as well, because they're all really, really good. Like they've got really, really great information on things like negative self-talk, performance anxiety, creating a more positive training environment, which will then give you the mental power and bandwidth to counter those negative self-thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Oh, anybody else have anything they'd like to ask Khan while he's here? All good? All right, we might let you go and have some dinner, Khan. We've been here for an hour, so thank you. So hang on one second. Thank you very much for taking the hour, taking the time to chat with us and share so much valuable information. I think we'll all get a lot out of that, and the people that look back and look over this this meeting.
Yeah, fingers crossed you guys took something away from it. Thank you so much for having me.
And hopefully we see you join. You're 30 now. You switch over to 30?
I am 30. I could be on the Masters bandwagon.
Forward to it. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and thank you, Khan.
No worries. See you guys.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Khan.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.